Welcome everyone to the Incredicast podcast. I'm Adam Hurst today. I'm not joined by David Kerrigan. Finals week has got us kind of busy this week, but I'm still here to give you a quick rundown of this past weekend's Talladega race or the Geico 500. But Joey Logano managed to get his first win in this season. It's been a year since Logano's won. The last win goes back to Richmond of last year, which was encumbered. So now they have a win that's not encumbered. So congratulations to Joey Logano, Team Penske, Todd Gordon, TJ Majors. Congratulations on the big win. But to the beginning of this race, Kevin Harvick started on the pole. At the beginning, we saw Kurt Busch have radio issues, and so they had to delay the start for Kurt. But one thing we noticed in this race was it got single file very easily early on, but that would change for the pit stops on lap 14. But then Kurt Busch was too fast entering on pit road. We saw a lot of penalties on pit road this past weekend. But the Chevys, they had a Chevy group out there that stayed out there for quite a while. Bowman led, Bubba Wallace led for a little bit. But Harvick had some issues with his car early on. We saw that became an issue, but he managed to make some improvements on it during the race, and he managed to finish in fourth place. But Brad, basically, after all the pit stops, Brad Keselowski just cruises to a stage win, single file. Brad Keselowski gets another stage win. He's been awesome on these stage wins all year. But we move to stage number 2. Brad Keselowski wins the race off pit road. Kevin Harvick had a long stop to fix those issues that we talked about earlier. Also on pit road, we had issues with Martin Truex Jr., but William Byron takes the lead early on during that restart. Then the pit stops took place on lap number 12. Then more speeding penalties happened later on with Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse, and Daniel Suarez. Later on, we then had the first wreck happened in stage 2, something you don't really see that often at these plate tracks is wrecks happening, starting to happen very late. But we only had 2 cautions this entire time. The first wreck was between Martin Truex, Trevor Bayne, Kyle Larson, McMurray, Jones, and possibly even more. That's the only list. That's the list I've received. But there was an intense battle for the stage win with Logano, Hamlin, and Paul Menard. But Paul Menard wins his first stage in the second stage. Wins his first stage of his career. First playoff points for Paul Menard. Congratulations, Paul Menard. Then in the final stage, we had some more pit stop issues with Chase Elliott. He overshot his pit box. So then we had Kyle Busch speeding on pit road. Then it seemed like the outside starts out pretty terrible at the beginning on these restarts, but then after a few laps, that's exactly where you want to be. You want to be on the outside, get that good run, which at the end that didn't really take place. But Kurt Busch managed to take the lead. William Byron managed to take the lead. It started to get kind of good battling up front, but then we had a debris caution, and unfortunately I cannot tell you what exactly it is because they did not inform us during the broadcast. All I know that is it apparently hit Paul Menard's car. Paul Menard ran over it. That's all I know. They didn't show it on TV. And then Paul Menard had a tire violation. Then there was another penalty for Chase Elliott. But NASCAR retracts the penalty for Paul Menard. Radio issues then happened for Paul Menard. And then Paul Menard, he's having a weird day. He would later then be involved in a crash between the 14, the 2, the 24, 48, 12, 47, 43, 21, 34, 18, 3, 62, 72, and 95. That's the only true major crash that happened. It wasn't a crash fest like we saw at the Daytona 500, but that's basically the race because it got single file. They didn't really want to try to go for the win until the final lap, and that's just not enough to get a good enough of a run. So Joey Logano basically cruises to victory lane. So Penske just really took it to him today or Sunday. Penske winning all the stages with Brad, technically with Paul Menard, and then Joey Logano wins the race. So Joey Logano, welcome to the playoffs. You don't have to worry about it like you did last year. But anyways, that is Talladega. That was everything that you really needed to know. So we'll see if the same stuff happens in the Daytona race later on this year. But next week we go to Dover, a race where we saw Kurt Busch dominate last year. Took the lead away from Chase Elliott. I'm still going to give you our picks of the week. David Kerrigan, my co-host, he thinks that Chase Elliott is going to get redemption from last week, and he's going to get his first win at Dover. Me, however, I'm going to take the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. We saw him be so dominant there. Believe it was in 2016. I think it's going to happen again. He's going to try to catch up with Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch. He's going to get his second win of the season, possibly tie them with 3 in the future at Kansas. We'll see about that, though. Also, next week's podcast, we have some exciting Incredicast news we're going to give to you. But other than that, we have some NASCAR news that happened during this week. Matt Kenseth is returning to racing. He's going to be driving part-time for Roush Fenway. He will be driving the 6 car, taking turns with Trevor Bayne. And that is all we basically have for this week. Thank you for watching this podcast. I know it's not what you're normally used to, but sometimes these things happen. But I'm still here, and hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week, and enjoy the race.